But that would have been a necessary moment to see he needs to be talked to. And although I was in constant contact with my counselor and my teachers and everyone, and I was in the RSP program, so I had a lot of counselor time. Of the two of my parents, my mom was the most non-judgmental, always has been. My dad, as great as he is, he's one of those people that judges a book by its cover, which is not always the way to do things. And so his listening skills, as far as emotionally understanding, were limited at the time. Much better now, but at the time. So I wouldn't really go to him, but they'd call him to school, and so he wouldn't understand. The counselor at the time, I remember him, he is still a great friend, Mr. Percascio. He listened intently, without interruption, without judgment of any kind. My mom, she could listen all day, which was very nice, until there was a wearing out point, until even if you would call it psychotic form of talking would get to her, and she'd be very worried. But and of course my psychiatrist eventually would listen intently and carefully. They could have all of those three people. They could have repeated questions. They could have said how important this is for my mental health. They could have also told me, which none of them did at the time, none of them really told me that recovery was possible, in arm's reach, most likely even. They just told me that I needed to get well, or that I needed to take the medication, or that I needed to go to therapy. All these things I needed to do, all the while I'm feeling that I don't have this thing called bipolar disorder. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't want to be labeled. And so not addressing the issue of stigma and labeling and what this means to have a mental illness for the rest of your life that is incurable. Not explaining to me that it's a brain issue, that it's not my fault, that I didn't somehow manifest this. Not explaining all of those things was a detriment to my health. But it was kind of the first step. And after that, what I'm getting at is my great uncle, Kevin Ryan, who I'm named after. He brought me books about mental illness. The first book was Bipolar for Dummies. It sounds silly, but do you know how much that helped me? Because even though I didn't like reading all these books and some technical books about bipolar disorder in the brain, and and sometimes I couldn't read. Sometimes I was so distraught I couldn't even get the words down on the page. They would seem to be jumbled and through seeing them. And but when I could read, and I read Bipolar for Dummies, it was so simple, and it reiterated all the things that Time Magazine said in a simpler way. I got those kinds of books, and he was he's one of my heroes. He was, in fact, my best friend. When I went into psych wards because of suicidal thought, he would be there every single day with a cup of soup, a comic book, and a new book on bipolar disorder or depression. Once I accepted the disease, which was after I attempted, that was when I understood what everyone was saying. I have accepted that I, Kevin Hines, have bipolar disorder. And I, Kevin Hines, need to fight bipolar disorder. And I have the ability, and I can be successful in that fight, and I can find wellness.